Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Philip Norton here. I'm going to do a stock chart review on TNDM today and take a look at what the chart is telling us. So we'll be looking at the daily chart here on TC 2000. Very little from a list of indicators on here. Try to keep it pretty bare and simple and just see what the chart is telling us. Of course, a little disclaimer before we get rolling here, and that's just that with stocks like TNDM, they really work on news. So any bit of news can send this stock flying in either direction. So if you are trading or investing in these stocks, make sure you are following them very closely. You're very attentive, especially to news coming out and what trends and stuff is happening with the stock. That being said, assuming that you guys are following them pretty close in there and just looking for, what's going on with the stock, I can give you a little bit of analysis on that. I won't dare try to make predictions about exactly where a stock like TNDM is going, but I can give you guys some definite signs and things to watch out for to maybe help, you guys make money or keep from losing money or keep your profits in order. So that being said, taking a look here at, as mentioned, the daily chart, and you can see it's pretty simply an uptrend. This stock has been trending all the way from $5 up now into the low 30s. So anyone that's been in since down here, kudos to you and making a lot of money in that. So the stock has been moving up pretty well. And you can see it's actually a pretty clear uptrend with a lot of bullish movement in it in that, right? So if you take a look at any time you have large movements in the stock, so in this case here, we've got a shoot up, of stock, a nice little jump here. The stock then will pull back, very normal after a stock makes a big move for it to pull back. But you'll notice, just put a little line in here, that while it pulls back, it never even gets to, it never closes below really the tops of these lines, right? Every single close is above, those lines in there. So showing you that while it does make a few little pulls down, it is showing a lot of strength in that of being able to then pull back and stay and close above it. So would have been something that made you nervous during the time, but it is still holding that uptrend very well. And then of course it spends most time above even the 9 moving average, the 9 simple moving average, which is a very bullish sign too. So you'll see pulls back a little bit, but really continues to close above those lines. It does have a little support from the 20, which doesn't hurt. Pulls right back above the 9, consolidates there above the 9, which is great. That would be a very bullish signal for me. Looking to double as soon as it broke the high of this last red candle. Give you a great buy signal to ride that wave. So you see it again, right? Goes up, consolidates a little bit. As it moves up, it has a pullback here. And so as it moves up and has this pullback, notice still above this last consolidation in that. So stays and closes above that consolidation, which is a great sign, but also gives you a big bullish signal here, right? When it goes down and it touches 2403, but right, it gets right down to the $24 line, bounces off it. Okay, went down, held that for the day. But the next day, as it opens up and falls, it actually falls directly on, you see in the upper left corner there, low of the day is 2403. Low of the day is 2403. So you actually have back-to-back days where it touches the exact same penny to the penny amount and bounces. And you'll actually, if you look down here, you'll see volume, right? So you had heavy volume as it pushed down 2403, and then less volume the next day. So even less action, price action at that same pivot point. So there isn't the sellers that are coming through. The sellers push through and try to push it down there. Got all bought up at 2403, and the next day it kind of, hung out. It really, there wasn't enough selling power to even get close to breaking that. And then, of course, so you'd be looking for, you know, a bounce off that double bottom there at 2403. And you get that the next day. You get increased volume, so bigger volume than the last 2 days to touch that 2403. So as soon as it broke the top of that candle, again, another small short-term buying opportunity there. But again, nothing like a nice little bear signal here to tell you the stock is still running strong. So the stock runs up. And it breaks this trend line. So really the first trend line we started with today here is this $30 line. And maybe, you know, it's just because it's a big $10 amount that the stock wants to have a lot of price action around this, right? But funny is if you actually go back long in the past, and you'll see, look at all the time it's spent down there at the bottom, right? So way, way down the bottom. But if you go long ago, and if we zoom out just to kind of show you how far back we're going, long ago, you actually can see over here that this trend line has had quite a bit of price action on it before. So, you know, you had after the big, you know, dump in that the stock came up, played around this $21 trend line, broke it, hit the 30 around there, came back to 20, hung around the 20 line, back to 30, you know, and just kind of consolidated in there. Finally broke the 20, retested it, no go, and then that's when it fell, and it's kind of gone into hibernation. So you do have these, you know, these two trend lines that have, or these trend lines, these two pivots that have, you know, actually played a part long in the past. So while the company is completely different from years ago and nothing really is the same news-wise, they still come into play as price action pivots. And so we see this, we see the stock, you know, barreling through, breaking that. And actually you notice that though you have two big green candles here, it broke through that 30 pretty good. But the next day opened right back down at it, right? So though it was able to break it, it opened the next day down, back at that pivot. So it really opened at the pivot. You can see it broke just below 30 for a second, and then decided it was going to keep running that day. So as it broke pivot, opened down, and then continued its upward trend a little bit. It's now come back down and retested that pivot and held, and is now kind of trending again above the 9. So very, very bullish in that as well. So it is continuing this long-term, or at least for the last 6 months, trend up. So everything has held that pivot, which is great because there's not really a long-term point again until you get what you can maybe say 44, and you have the gap up to 54. So there's not really anything in its way now to keep it from running. So from a purely technical thing, you could say this has tons of potential to really, really move up, just from looking at the chart itself. Now, you will see, though, it pulled back to the 9, and it's kind of moved up today. A little bit of price action up here. So the one big thing to watch here is this high. It set a high. It fell back to support and held support, and it's now trended itself back up to that high. So, which is of course a good thing, right? It's not just immediately shooting back and retesting it. It's trending up there to retest that high over a couple of weeks. So now you want to watch that price action here right around that $34 range, because if you're able to break 34, then break that and move to a new high, you could see this trend continuing, and you could have the next leg up in the trend and just continue on from here. However, if you are not in from like $5, if you're just now getting into the stock, watch this 30 support. This is the last support you had. It held support. So if it fails to break 34, if it gets back up here, you could have yourself a double top. It could fail to break here. You'll notice the the volume as the first time it goes up into this $34 range was stronger, and you've had less volume now. So if you don't get much volume, you may not be able to break 34, and then you can see it. You might see it come back down here. Once again, come back down to the $30 pivot in that, and if it breaks 30, so the downside, if it closes below 30, I would be very wary of the next fall. Probably at that point it would fall to VWAP, which would most likely be somewhere around 26, 27 by then. So you're going to get a fall to VWAP and see if you get any support there. Otherwise, you could be looking at the change of trend, and who knows how low it will go. Again, there isn't a ton of long-term pivots and stuff for this stock, and as well as a stock that moves huge on news. And so if you are watching this, you want to watch it very carefully and know when your ins and outs are. Like I said, I would be watching this for the break over 34 for a run, but if it does fall below 30, I would probably be looking to get out and wait. Maybe it breaks 30, if it closes below it, and then it gets back above it the next day, maybe you can get back in, right? So it's something you're watching. Maybe you sell just below 30 and buy just above 30. Yes, you're out a few pennies, but it's a lot safer than just holding for that day below 30, because if it breaks 30, you could have a lot of bulls selling and getting out and taking their profits, especially people that have been here long term. They would be selling, hoping to buy back at VWAP or even down at the previous pivots. So just a little technical review here for TNDM. Let me know what you think. If you have any other stocks you want me to just take a look at the chart and let you know what I'm seeing, be glad to take a look at them. Thanks, everyone.